to another episode of Llewellyn TV. Today I'm going to change my rotor arm on my Mk1 Toyota MR2 and talk a little bit about the ignition system. So this car that I've got, which is a 1986 Mk1A crossover to Mk1B Toyota MR2. It's a nice low mileage car, just over 58,000 miles. It had been laid up for a few years and needed a bit of catch-up maintenance, so over the last year I've done some work on the brakes and give it a bit of a clean up, but never really done much to the engine, so I thought I'd use this time when we're in lockdown to give it a bit of TLC on the engine and give it a bit of a tune-up, although it already drives really well. I ordered some ignition servicing items, so plugs, leads, rotor arm and dizzy cap. Thought that'd be a nice thing to do to start with, and it's a quick, easy process, and you got the peace of mind then that all that stuff's in order. Unfortunately, when they sent the rotor arm, they sent me completely the wrong part in the box, but me being me, I couldn't wait to get everything fitted, so I fitted the leads, the plugs and the dizzy cap. I thought, oh, I'll come back to the rotor arm. Anyway, when I was fitting them, I pulled the existing rotor arm off, and because it was so old it was brittle, and unfortunately it broke, so I had to do a horrendous bodge repair, which hasn't really been working, so I've had some running issues since doing that, where I think the rotor arm has been slipping round on the distributor and not delivering the spark correctly as it should. So I have a new rotor arm in this box, and it is the correct piece. So I'll just dig it out and show you what it looks like. New rotor arm, £5, that's all they cost. Later on in the video I'm going to show you the state of the one that I've had to kind of bodge because I broke it. But this is all it is. It's a £5 component that basically, if it fails, the car's not going to run. So this spins around in the distributor cap, and there's a contact there that's connected to the coil, and this contact here, as it rotates round, delivers an electrical connection to each spark plug, basically via the HT leads. Be able to show that better in the video. Under the engine bay, this is the original distributor cap, which I removed from the car. I've just kept it to show you what one looks like when it's in poor health. So you can see it's pretty dirty on the outside of it. It has, let's turn it round, has the firing order. So the center pin is from the coil. There's a lead that goes onto there, and then as the rotor arm rotates inside there, that brushes past the contact points. It actually doesn't connect, it just arcs the current just arcs across there, and as it rotates round, it goes from spark plug 1, 3, 2 and 4, that's the firing order. Spark plug number 1 being closest to the output shaft of the engine. So what to look out for on these when they're in poor health is the condition. I don't know if I can zoom in on this, I'm going to try. It's the condition of the contact points. So if you can see this here, how it looks sort of furry and worn down, that's going to give a bad connection to the spark plugs, which means that you'll have a weak spark, so your engine isn't going to be running as efficiently as it could be. Again, these are really cheap to replace. I think this was a tenner for a new one. So for a £15 investment and 5 minutes to fix it, which is literally all it takes just to change that part over, you have the peace of mind that you're going to have a nice strong spark going to your spark plugs. So let's have a look under the bonnet and see where we need to fit it. So this is the distributor cap here. These are the leads. So what you have is you have an ignition coil down here with a lead connected to the center of the ignition cap, and then you can see the firing order numbers just about on the top of the ignition cap. As the rotor arm spins, you have a contact that goes to each plug lead and then delivers the spark plugs from cylinder 1, 3, 2 and 4. So all you need to do to change the component is remove 2 8mm bolts, pull the cap off, remove all the leads and make sure that you know exactly where each lead goes. Luckily on these the caps are labelled, so it's a little bit easier. When the cap's off, the rotor arm just pulls off and we can replace that rotor arm. So I'm actually going to use the original 8mm open-ended wrench from the Toyota toolkit. If you've still got your original toolkit, you won't even need to find any other tools, because the one that you need is in here. Nice. The bolts are out of the distributor cap now, so we're going to remove it and have a look at the rotor arm. I'll show you the bodge that I had to make. Not good, but quite funny. Sometimes it's not always possible to remove the distributor cap without taking the leads out. I think on this car there's plenty of room to do that. So all you do is gently wiggle it out of the way and pull it back, clearing the rotor arm, because normally you don't want to damage the rotor arm, although this one has seen better days, as you'll see in a minute. So the rotor arm is down here. It's literally a push fit, so we just pull it off. And this is what we're dealing with, which is an embarrassment, but sometimes you've got to do these things to get yourself out of trouble. So what I've basically got is 3 cable ties covered in insulation tape, because the housing was completely cracked and no good. And I think what it's been doing is it's been slipping round on the shaft because it's a bit loose. So what you want to look out for on your rotor arm, if you're thinking of replacing it, usually for what they cost, you may as well just replace it anyway. But it's the tip on the end there. So sometimes you can get a bit more life out of them by cleaning them up with a file and some electrical cleaner. But really, this one is, I think, at least 20 years old, probably older. It's not going to be doing its job properly anymore. So just compare that to the new one. So that's the contact point on the new rotor arm. And the one on the old one, you can just see it's, aside from my bodge, it's no good once putting in the bin. So to fit it, you just locate the flat part of the spindle, and then the arm should just push on. is now the rotor arm fitted. So the cap can go back on. And then we just put the two 8mm bolts back in and it's job done. I won't film that because it's very boring. And the final thing to check is, will she start? Let's give it a go. Straight up, absolutely no problems at all. So it's looking good. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates. Please like and subscribe the channel if you like what you're watching. Leave me a comment if you think that I've done something wrong or could have done something better, or if there's other MR2 content that you'd like to see, give us a shout. See you next time.